It was 2014. UKIP and Nigel Farage were soaring. They'd forced David Cameron to grant a referendum on Europe, then topped the polls in the Euro elections. The Conservatives were badly losing members to UKIP and votes. But what Tory high command feared most was UKIP getting their first MPs in by-elections. Farage and his party had to be stopped. At any cost, it seems.
Channel 4 News has obtained a wealth of information which reveals just how much the Conservatives spent on 3 parliamentary by-elections in 2014 and appeared to show a contempt for the law, a law designed to create a level playing field and prevent any party simply buying election success. These detailed receipts seem to show how in each case the Conservatives simply bust the £100,000 legal spending limit that applies to by-elections and spent tens of thousands of pounds beyond that, spending and receipts which were never officially declared to the authorities and which we think should have been. Our evidence, according to a top independent legal expert, would provide reasonable grounds for a police investigation.
Our story starts with the by-election in June 2014 in Newark.
Vote at the Move!
Seen as UKIP's big chance to get their first elected MP. So worried with the Tories, David Cameron went to Newark 4 times. And the party flooded the seat with other ministers and MPs, working from 5 different offices, activists and an army of paid party staff from all over the country, some with strong links to Downing Street. A central figure in this and all 3 by-elections was Marion Little, senior campaign organiser at Conservative HQ, who recently got an OBE for political service. Helped by Richard Piper Griffiths, by-election coordinator, Richard Holden, deputy head of press, Simon Glasson, now an advisor to George Osborne, and from number 10, Stephen Gilbert, David Cameron's then political secretary, who is now Lord Gilbert. 5 names which recur in all 3 by-elections, the Tories' ground war team. In all, we've got the names of 16 Tory staff who were brought to Newark, though the real numbers probably much higher. This is Kelham House Country Manor, the ground war team's base in Newark, and we've got detailed records for their stay at this hotel. Their rooms were almost all booked under Marion Little's home address in Hertfordshire. Between the 2nd of May and polling day on the 5th of June, the period to declare expenses by law, the Tories took 59 nights accommodation here, running up a bill of £4,200. Money seemed no problem. And in the week of the Newark poll, they were joined by David Cameron's political secretary.
3 days before the by-election, Stephen Gilbert came to stay here for 4 nights, and he checked out the day after the result. But also he'd been here a couple of weeks before, on May the 21st, when, according to the bills, he'd enjoyed a 3-course meal, including Devon crab brulee and a bottle of Escondido Malbec.
While bigwigs enjoyed the smart country house, more junior staff stayed at the Premier Inn, clocking up 125 nights in all, and a total estimated bill of £6,250. Again, all seem to be registered to Marion Little's home address, and again, bills not declared by the party.
Generic Robert Edward, the Conservative Party candidate, £17,431.
The big investment seemed to pay off. The Conservatives won with a majority of more than 7,000. But Nigel Farage complained that night he thought the Tories had spent well beyond the £100,000 legal limit.
It is difficult to believe given the number of paid professional people from the Conservative Party here, it is difficult to believe that their returns are going to come in below the figure.
So you think they haven't kept within the law, the Conservatives?
Well, I don't know. I'd love to see what their returns are, because it seems to me the scale of campaign they fought here is so vast. Anyway, let's see what their returns are, but there will certainly be some questions.
The losing Lib Dem even put a figure on it.
What do you think the Conservatives spent on this campaign?
At a rough guess, I'd guess that over the course of it, they probably spent somewhere near £250,000. It's been a huge campaign on their behalf, and we could never match that sort of money.
When the new Conservative MP, Robert Jenrick, and his agent submitted their official spending return a month later, they claimed in the document to have spent £96,190.98. But nowhere in the return and all the attached receipts is any mention of the 2 hotels that we've found. If those hotels had been included, it would have taken them way above the spending limit of £100,000. And in case there's any doubt, the Election Commission guidance says you must include any hotel or similar costs for campaign workers.
But the day after he'd won, Mr. Jenrick insisted all would be within the law.
I'm certain the party stayed within the legal limits.
So you will be including on the expenses, will you, the salaries of all the officials that were brought in from all over the country, some of whom we see around us, and their hotel bills? That will all be included on the expenses return in 35 days' time?
Well, I'm sure the expenses will be submitted in accordance with the law, and I'm very confident the team putting them together.
4 months on, the Tories faced another by-election in Clacton amid an atmosphere of crisis after their MP Douglas Carswell defected to UKIP. Here too, dozens of paid Conservative staff were parachuted in to stay at local hotels, including the 5 from the ground war team. This is the Lifehouse Spa and Hotel near Clacton, the perfect place, says its website, for well-deserved pampering and relaxation. Tory staff were booked for 258 nights during the declarable period, which we reckon cost more than £20,000. More rooms at the Clacton Premier Inn would have added another 6,000 or so. The total between the 2 hotels was almost £27,000 in the time when expenses had to be declared. Yet neither bills for these hotels nor pay for the staff involved there appeared on the party's official expense return, which was more than £84,000, £16,000 below the official limit. Had hotels, meals and pay been included, it would have put the party well over the legal cap. 6 weeks later, the Tories faced an even bigger test in Rochester and Strood in Kent, where MP Mark Reckless had also switched to UKIP. David Cameron made 5 trips this time, and it's here we found evidence of the greatest spending of all.
The by-election here in Rochester and Strood was another crucial battleground, and again the Tories deployed a huge team. Channel 4 News has discovered that the party spent around £50,000 here on hotel bills alone.
The ground war team were here too, booked into the Bridgewood Manor Hotel near Rochester and the local Premier Inn. We know who stayed where and when.
Once more, we've obtained bills for the hotel. Page after page after page, column after column. £80 a night, £80 a night for bed and breakfast. But also other things. They spent £905 on conference and function rooms, £107.50 on laundry, £679.55 on drinks, but a mere £57.82 on tips.
Our analysis shows that in the relevant period, the Tories took out 446 nights of room bookings at Bridgewood Manor, which cost them more than £38,000, including extras. Then there's the Premier Inn in Rochester, where the bills are again mysteriously registered to Marion Little's home in Hertfordshire, 21 more staff here and lots more names, including rooms booked for a Mr. Conservatives. The whole bill here was more than £18,000. The total in bills for these two Rochester hotels, more than £56,000. We showed our evidence from all three by-elections to Bob Watt, an academic who specialises in election law.
Well, I find it very surprising because having looked at the electoral returns, the returns required by law, I would expect to see bills for accommodation included in the electoral returns, and I see little or no evidence of that.
Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with booking hotels or using party staff to fight a by-election campaign. But the law says that any such spending must be declared afterwards and kept within the limit, the legal limit of £100,000 for spending in a by-election. After the result here in Rochester and Strood, the Tories claimed to have spent £96,793. But nowhere on their declaration were any hotel bills. And the staffing and accommodation costs that they did include bear no resemblance to what we've found.
And it wasn't just hotel accommodation. The party used at least 3 separate campaign offices, including a unit at this mall near the historic dockyard. Details were even given out on leaflets. But again, no mention in the expenses return. A quote for a unit of that size at the mall suggests it would have cost £5,000 at that time, plus rates and utilities.
I'm sure that no political party wants to be involved in electoral corruption. And I just feel that there is something here that I do not like the look of, because it does appear, and I've only seen your evidence, I haven't heard from the other side, and they must have their day in court, of course, but if these figures are as they appear on their face, it appears that there has been gross over-expenditure.
The Conservatives declined our request for an interview, but a party spokeswoman told Channel 4 News all by-election spending has been correctly recorded in accordance with the law.
So, no explanation as we'd requested as to why the Conservatives' huge hotel bills weren't declared. And no explanation why, strangely, so many rooms were booked through Marion Little's home address. The Electoral Commission told Channel 4 News tonight they'll consider whether any of our allegations come within their remit, or are strictly matters for the police to investigate.